If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is a mini meditation guided by Bombas. Repeat after me. I'm comfy. I'm cozy. I have 0 blisters on my toes. And that's because I wear Bombas, the softest socks, underwear, and t-shirts that give back. One purchased equals one donated. Now go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Attack the Baseline, a WNBA podcast where every episode we attack our baseline knowledge of the WNBA, and today we're picking up the pieces of the shattered puzzle that is the WNBA following the 2025 crazy free agency period. It was chaos. We saw the largest trade ever completed in the history of the league, definitely a product of some CBA negotiations that are ongoing as we look into 2026, but we have to focus on 2025 and all the brand new teams and team compositions that we have. So we're going to get into all of that today, talking about every single team, at least a little bit. But before we get into that, I'm, of course, your host, John, joined, as always, by Kristen. How's it going?
Hello, John. I am excited to talk about all of this. I really am overwhelmed. It's so many trades. I have this image on my phone that's like has arrows of all the players that have moved from what team they moved to, and it's a whole like web of images, and I just like stare at it to try to understand what is happening, what has happened.
It's a fun graphic. It's not a very efficient or good graphic, in my opinion.
No, but yeah, it's fun. But there were so many trades and signings over this weekend when we were very busy at a wedding.
Unfortunately. It was a wonderful wedding.
A lovely wedding. Shout out to Kristen Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
But we were not on our phones reacting to things, seeing things live. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot to catch up on. I'm doing my best.
It's okay. And we don't need to know everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to do our best.
Things are still flowing.
Yes, things are still flowing. There's like 20 odd players that are unsigned that had, roles on teams last year, but all the bigger moves happened. Obviously, we had a number of players that we've already talked about in trades. Your Kelsey Plum and Joel Lloyd trade. We talked about the Alyssa Thomas trade. We didn't talk about the big Satou trade. There are like a lot of things to react to, and unfortunately we just couldn't give you a live reaction like we could with those other ones. But today, like I said, we're just going to go team by team, really high level stuff, and see some of the biggest moves in and moves out on all of those franchises. But before we get into that, if you'd like to reach out to us and let us know who you think the biggest winners and losers are of 2025 free agency period, you can do so at our email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com, or connect with us on Bluesky or Instagram at ATBPod. We're there. We're always chatting. I always say we're talking about Unrivaled a ton. I love to talk about the games. And we're going to talk about Unrivaled too at the end of this show, even though we didn't have an opportunity to watch many of the games this week. But, always feel free to reach out to us, chat. We love to hear from you. Mm-hmm. It's fun to know what you're thinking about the chaotic WNBA all the time. And if you'd be so kind, 5-star rating and reviews. Always, if you haven't done that so far, just click that little 5-star. Just little clicky. Mm-hmm. That's all I'll say on that.
Yeah, my toxic trait, I think John would say, is that I still like go on Facebook every day.
She does.
And I joined this Unrivaled Facebook group just to see what the people are saying. Mm-hmm. And it's like very not fun in there. Mm. So I don't know if I'll be in there for long.
No, it's not like our private group chat where we talk W and Unrivaled. Very fun time in there, especially reacting to all of the moves. That was a good place for us to make sure we stay caught up. So appreciate friend of the pods, Laura and Elizabeth, for keeping us up to date. Mm-hmm. And of course, listener Tim as well. So speaking of listener Tim, let's start with the newest team of the WNBA, the Golden State Valkyries, who are an easy one. Since the expansion draft back in the middle of December, the Valkyries have not performed any moves. They did not sign a free agent. They've sent out their reserve or their restricted contracts, still waiting for many of them to be signed. There's a number of training camp contracts that they've signed. But they ultimately didn't trade for Kelsey Plum, which was a pretty major rumor. Didn't trade for Kelsey Mitchell like Candace Parker thought. Didn't go out and sign like a Tina Charles or a Brittany Griner. Diana Taurasi, still unsigned. They were silent. And I think that is okay for the Valkyries. Do you agree?
It's fine if that's what they're going for.
I think they made it pretty clear that that's what they're going for, in my opinion.
I didn't know what they were going for.
Well, yeah.
Everything they've said to us is that they want to win right now.
Yeah, I mean...
And I've seen nothing.
That's what drives ticket sales.
True. Those tickets are expensive. But I've really seen nothing to... I mean, perhaps they're trying. Perhaps they've been reaching out to these free agents and the free agents just aren't interested. And if that's the case, then sorry to them.
Right.
But there's also they have the rights to a bunch of players from this draft that they haven't signed yet. And I'm just not sure what they're waiting for. Mm-hmm. And why they're not moving on things.
Well, they do not need to sign them. Nobody needs to be signed. Of course, they're kind of keeping it because none of these, not none of, but a handful of these players are not guaranteed anyway. So theoretically, they were probably deciding, if we land a significant free agent, we might. I mean, even though they're significantly under the cap. They might need to cut a player and they don't want to sign anybody to anything that they would need to pay later. So they can just wait until basically right when the season starts to make sure everybody's on the books. I mean, we know that they picked 11 players, not 12.
Yeah, they picked 11.
They picked 11 and only 2 are guaranteed.
Yeah.
Steph Talbot and Kayla Thornton. Kayla Thornton, who, bingo alert, is going to be participating in the All-Star Celebrity Game, in the NBA All-Star Game. That counts. With Alicia Gray, my GOAT. So, things you'll love to see.
Yeah. But, 2 of these contracts, Maria, I guess it's the international people. Mm-hmm. Maria Conde and Ileana Rupert have suspended contracts. So, that's nothing.
Right. I don't know if those are, just international contracts that don't count. Mo Billings was signed, but we don't know the number yet, so it hasn't been updated in the salary sheet. We do know that she was signed. That was a notification we got yesterday. Temi, Cecilia,
they're still free agents.
Right, but restricted. So, unless somebody else is making an offer sheet on them, they will be Valkyries. Mm-hmm. And, by all intents and purposes, they need to be able to field a team.
Yeah, they need to sign some more people. So if they're trying to sign anybody, that will help them win, they should do it pretty soon.
And they have the 5th overall pick, so that's a player that will be signed too.
Yeah.
And they probably have, no, they should have a 2nd and a 3rd as well. So there's at least 3 players that you would expect them to at least offer a contract to.
Yeah.
And I would probably just sign them all because you got spots.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is really the story for the Valkyries. Listener Tim's getting what he wants. A solid tank job right up front. They're being pretty transparent with that. And who knows, maybe they sneak into a couple wins. You never know. So moving up the standings, as we start from the bottom of last year, let's talk about the LA Sparks, who are also a team that was not particularly active in free agency once they were done with the Kelsey Plum trade. Obviously, they bring in Kelsey Plum, they let go of Lee Yaroo, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing else there. They gave up the 2nd overall pick.
Yeah, that's
as well.
it.
So,
Uh-huh.
but at the end of the day, the Sparks had a pretty 2025 roster set. They had a lot of players under contract, under 2-year deals from last year. Mm-hmm. So they were pretty confident in what their team was going to be this year.
Yeah, if they want that to be their team.
I mean, I certainly think that if they were really trying to compete, like they signaled when they made the first move of free agency, I would have expected them to make another splashy signing.
Yeah.
But also, what do you do? Because they're kind of hamstrung because they have bigs in De'Erica and Rakia and Cam that you don't want to take minutes away from. And you just signed Kelsey Plum to be your point guard. So it's like...
They need to figure out who their other guard is.
Right.
And I think they're fine. They'll be fine.
Yeah, I think they certainly are fine.
Yeah.
But with some of the other moves that we saw, and the number of other teams that tried to load up and be competitive, I don't know if I have the Sparks in that 1st or 2nd tier.
No.
We may have thought the Kelsey Plum trade signaled. They're still young. And Kelsey Plum is now their veteran leader. So they could strike it well, or they could have some growing pains with that new adjustment for Kelsey Plum being the dominant scorer. Mm-hmm. It'll remain to be seen. But that's the Sparks. Now we move on to Dallas. Dallas,
okay,
who made the most moves of anybody here. Dallas and Connecticut are the biggest movers and shakers. Mm-hmm. Obviously Phoenix and whatnot as well. But what were the players leaving? We'll start with from the wings.
Literally the whole team. Okay. J.C. Sheldon, Satou, Kalani Brown, Natasha Howard, Sev Uzin, Stephanie Soares, and Jaylen Brown.
All gone.
All gone.
So at that point in time, that left them with 4 players in their ecosystem. But they did bring in a ton of players. Mm-hmm. So looking at who they brought in, we have NaLyssa Smith and DiJonai Carrington. The couple gets to play together. They worked out that trade to be together in Dallas, which I think is really cool because they were tired of doing long distance. You gotta respect them for that. Ty Harris got bounced around a couple places and ended up in Dallas. Makia Herbert Harrigan is there too. And then Dallas also has a 12th overall pick in the upcoming draft this year. So some solid pieces. Mm-hmm. I think there's a pretty vocal minority about talking about how Dallas can really make a push. They're below the Sparks, and the Sparks are not an upper tier team. Mm-hmm. So they're right now Dallas is probably a trendy 8th seed to me. It's
That's below the Sparks.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't like really figured it out, but like
Okay.
the Sparks feel like a 7 seed type of team to me. If the young players take a step up. But yeah, Dallas, I think, is going to be like, oh, they're fun, they're winning games. DiJonai and NaLyssa are like having a great time playing with each other. Obviously, I respect DiJonai Carrington a lot. I think she's a very good player.
Yeah, of course.
But like her and Arike and presumably Paige will be the big three there. It's not as big as some of the other big threes around the league. So
Right.
I think it's a very exciting time to be a Dallas fan because they kind of do this really hard reset, but you're about to bring in, one of the biggest stars, the biggest future stars of the WNBA.
Yeah.
So like there's plenty to be excited about, even though you had to move on from Satou and whatnot.
Yeah, it's definitely like a complete reset. And I'm just not sure like what they're going for.
I think kind of like Indiana last year, they want to have a roster in place that like, if they pop, they have a shot. Because remember when Indiana started, like 1-13 or whatever, or like they had that terrible start, and it was not 1-13, but it was really bad, and we were like, man, it's tough out there for CC, but they ended the season 22-18. So they ended with a winning record. They went on a pretty big tear, and they got it together after like figuring out how their team chemistry worked. And we'll talk about Indy later because they got quite better. But I think that's what Dallas is hoping. Obviously, Kurt Miller's there. Kurt Miller left the Sparks and is just like having a party with some young players that are exciting.
It's putting a lot of faith in Arike and in DiJonai.
Yeah. Period.
Period. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because NaLyssa Smith has had good games.
Yeah.
From what we've seen, but she's also had tough times, and maybe that was just Indy. Maybe she needed it. Maybe she's a scenery player.
Yeah.
And now she has like the love of her life on the team too. So that's like a motivator.
Yeah.
So I, would not be surprised if Dallas exceeds my expectations. But they certainly were not, not quiet, which they needed to make moves.
Yeah.
This is a mini meditation guided by Bombas. Repeat after me. I'm comfy. I'm cozy. I have 0 blisters on my toes. And that's because I wear Bombas, the softest socks, underwear, and t-shirts that give back. One purchased equals one donated. Now go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.
There's one thing that will forever change the way you sleep, and it's the softest 100% organic cotton bedding from Boll & Branch. You'll fall asleep faster, wrapped in the most luxurious comfort. You'll never sleep hot again with airy blankets, cloud-like duvets, and breathable sheets. You'll experience pure comfort on night one and feel your bedding get softer with every wash. Discover the difference with 15% off your first order at bollandbranch.com with code CUMULUS. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Moving up next, we talk about Chicago. A team that I would put below Dallas at this point in time. Not a ton of moves by the Sky. The biggest one of which we had mentioned previously on the podcast, they signed Courtney Vandersloot to play point guard after moving on from Kennedy Carter. Obviously, you have Angel and Camilla there, Michaela Onwere. But, I mean, who else did they lose? They lost Diamond to Shields.
That's it.
And Izzy Harrison, I don't think has signed yet.
No, they have a lot of people still left to sign.
Izzy Harrison's a UFA.
Yeah.
And Bree
And
Turner.
Bree Turner.
So it's like...
Just two.
Yep. So Izzy Harrison, Bree Turner, and Kennedy are all... And Diamond are all gone. Mm-hmm. But I guess, yeah, looking at the way
they're gone.
They're presumably not going to sign them.
Isabel Harrison?
They might not. They haven't yet. They could be waiting. Maybe they're waiting for a number to go down.
Okay.
But they had a handful of people already under contract as well. So I guess they didn't want to make any huge moves. Obviously, there was like a discussion of Jewel getting traded there back to Chicago, and that didn't really become anything. That was probably what they were hoping for if they were going to make a move.
Yeah.
But they kind of kept their powder dry. I think they're going to try to, I don't know, let Sloot be, their point guard for a year and then figure out what happens when in the 2026 draft. Mm-hmm. I think they're also signaling like, we're not ready to compete because there's a lot of people in here. And who knows, Angel and Camilla could take massive jumps. And then we're like saying, okay, Chicago is better than we expect. But I know I've said that about the last couple teams.
Not every team can be better than you expect.
Well, people thought the Minnesota Lynx were going to be the 9th best team in the WNBA last year.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I mean, I'm excited for Sloot on this team. Like, she's going to have the ball the most.
She's going to play a ton of minutes.
She's going to be able to go off. But I think Chicago needed to do more, and they're not.
Yep. It's fine. Just go sell more Angel jerseys for another year and then figure it out after that. Moving on to Washington, the Mystics, quite literally did nothing. The quietest team. Mm-hmm. As far as I can think of.
They lost Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yes.
But they have a lot of players under contract.
They did have a lot of players under contract. Obviously, Atkins, Sykes, Dolson, Carly Samuelson, Shakira Austin, Aaliyah Edwards, Sika Kone, and Jade Melvin, with Emily Enksler and Shug on reserves. The biggest question for them was always this Elena Deladon situation, and I don't think anything is becoming of it.
No.
Unfortunately, it's not looking good for a big return of our University of Delaware alum. I'm still crossing my fingers because it would be cool to watch her play. Uh-huh. But this is as loud of a signal of we don't want to compete either as any team.
I don't think they don't want to compete. I think this team is good. They were so hurt last year.
Well, if the team was good, then why didn't they make any moves? Because they just missed the 8th seed. Mm-hmm. Remember when we were like, they're the best team of the bottom 5?
Because half their team was hurt all year.
Sure. But every other team above them got better. And the Sparks got better.
The Sky.
And the Wings got better. Yeah, not the Sky.
I don't think the Wings got better.
The Wings were the second worst team in the W last year, and that was partly because Satou was hurt all year.
Okay.
But, like, I don't know, at least they have healthy players that are somewhat good. I think the Mystics are...
They clearly don't care that much, so whatever.
I think move the team. Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to just, like, shut me down on that. But you gave me a... Mm-hmm.
That was my idea.
Yeah, move them. Move them. I like, they did nothing. Mm-hmm. They did nothing. You gotta at least, like, give a little bit.
And they have a new coach and a new GM.
Yeah.
And still did nothing.
Yep. Yep.
It's kind of embarrassing.
It is. And, like, I don't know, some of these players, they, like, Brittany Sykes could be good on a winning team.
She is good.
On a winning team. Mm-hmm. Make a move. I don't know. Go get a first-round pick. I don't freaking know. Maybe nobody has any first-round picks anymore because they're moving them around. I don't have anything else to say about Washington. It's kind of sad. Come to Philadelphia. We'll take your team.
Okay.
Moving up to the Atlanta Dream, the team that I would say was probably the most surprising in the action this past weekend. Bringing on none other than Brittany Griner to join their team. But we look at who they've lost. Tina Charles, your girl. Letitia Amahir. But they were another team that had a lot of people under contract. Mm-hmm. Pretty fairly set roster.
No, they didn't lose much. But they brought on a lot. So it was surprising to me. Because they also have a new coach. So I'm glad for that coach that he, has exciting new pieces to work with.
Yeah.
They signed Brittany Griner. Shocking. We talked about that a little bit last time.
I thought that was a good place for her. I thought it made sense. If you're not going to bring back Tina Charles, you're not going to bring back Cheyenne Parker-Tyus, then get the obvious, like, top 5 center in the league. Mm-hmm. Go get her. And they paid her. And she fits in pretty good between Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray, who are both still hooping in Unrivaled.
Yeah, and I think they're, like, best friends, this whole group. Mm-hmm. They're, like, having so much fun together and Unrivaled. Mm-hmm. They're going on fishing trips. They're, like, having a great time.
It's awesome. It's so sweet.
Mm-hmm. Brianna Jones signed with Atlanta.
That was a shocker to me.
That was
shocking. The bigger shocker to me.
Because once you have Brittany Griner, you don't necessarily need Bree Jones.
Right. But you can do a look with both of them. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they can both play together. Even though Bree Jones was the de facto center for the Sun this past season.
Right. But I think she's not really a true center. So I think it's good that she has Brittany Griner there so she doesn't have to be stuck in the center.
Right. But that makes your starting 5 BG, Bree Jones, Ryan, Alicia, Jordan Canada. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty quality 5.
That's really good.
Atlanta was the 8th seed last year, and they just made it in on the last day of the regular season. They're way better than they were last year, in my opinion. And, you were a Tina Charles stan.
Of course.
And Tina Charles gave them some pretty good minutes.
I will not say that Brittany Griner is way better than Tina Charles.
I think that's a fair
But
opinion.
I will say that adding Brianna Jones
makes them better.
Helps.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Totally. And this is a team that said, we're seeing other teams get better. We want to also get better. Mm-hmm. And Carl Smezgo, their new coach, is apparently a demon, an offensive demon. Mm. So I'm ready to see what he does, especially with Alicia and Ryan, who, like I said it in the past, if they have a better shooting season, Atlanta could be a very dangerous team against any one of the top contenders. Mm-hmm. So exciting moves for Atlanta. We move on to Phoenix, another team that has completely changed. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we talked about the big Alyssa Thomas trade, but somehow Satou Sabally also ended up in Phoenix as well.
Yeah, so we mentioned that there were rumors that this could happen. And we said we don't think that that's a good idea to have Satou and Alyssa Thomas on the same team.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that now?
Well, I think they can play together. Satou can shoot the ball, and Satou can play in the paint. Satou's a 3-level scorer. I mean, she's not the fastest shooter, but she can shoot. So Alyssa Thomas, in theory, how I would use them, if Alyssa Thomas drives to the hoop, finds Satou open in like the corner, Satou could knock down a 3. Very capable 3-point shooter. Or you could just let Satou go to work and do like an ISO for Satou. On the defensive end, Satou has, a lot of work to do, in my opinion. And obviously she has to stay healthy. But Alyssa Thomas being the anchor of your defense could take a lot of that pressure off of Satou if she has to play center. Because at the end of the day, they get about as much smaller as you possibly can when you lose Brittany Griner, the tallest player in the league. So there is still plenty of work to be done in Phoenix. They only have, 7 people under contract, 8 people under contract. Obviously,
No.
1, 2, let's see, Ka, Natasha Mack.
Not even Natasha Mack.
Natasha Mack, she's still in a training camp contract. I would expect Natasha Mack to be on the team.
5.
5 guaranteed. 4 guaranteed. Sammy Whitcomb came there as a reinforcement. Sevuzen got traded there and is on a training camp contract. They like Celeste Taylor, Amy Atwell.
Yeah.
They'll all be there. I expect them all to be there. But, like, they are going to need some depth.
That's still only 9 players, and they don't have much cap room left.
Yeah, I mean, once all those are taken care of, then they'll have room for like another 2 or 3 players. But right now, I mean, we're going to talk about the Storm not having a lot of players under contract. I feel the same way about the Mercury. Obviously, I think that the tier of talent with Alyssa Thomas and Satou gives you an edge, and Ka. I shouldn't forget Ka. But I mean, Sammy Whitcomb was important for shooting, but like, you need more shooting. You need more shooting. Plain and simple. The Mercury game, Nate Tibbetts' game, was predicated on high 3-point attempts, and Diana Taurasi was taking a ton of those. And Diana Taurasi still has not told us if she's going to retire or not. So, like, what are we doing? I think Mercury, you got to go get a couple more shooters if you really want to be legit.
Yeah.
Because you can't just let Alyssa Thomas do it all. Because Alyssa Thomas...
No, I think they want Satou to do it all.
I don't think that's the smartest bet.
Well...
You're hitching your wagon to Satou, and
to the unicorn, you're not.
I mean, look, unicorns are cool. Don't get me wrong, but I think this is ultimately a better situation for Alyssa Thomas. She obviously gets all the benefits going to Phoenix. Phoenix, it's a storied franchise. They invested heavily in their accommodations for their players. But like last year with DiJonai, Bree, and DeWanna Bonner, AT probably had a little more help than she has going into right now. Maybe. Well, I shouldn't say that.
I don't think that's true.
I shouldn't say that because it was like Marina too and Ty Harris.
You're like totally not giving Kalia Copper any credit.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm not.
This is a better situation for AT, I think, for sure.
Yes. I said it was a better situation. I'm just saying
you
that
said she had more help in Connecticut.
She had slightly more help.
I don't think so.
Slightly. I don't know. I need to see how it all fits together with Satou.
Yeah.
Like, plain and simple. If Satou is who everyone thinks Satou is, then they're going to be a top 4 team. And if she's not, then they're not going to be. Because I don't think Ka and AT alone is going to get you past the New Yorks, the Las Vegases, the Minnesotas, the Indianas. I want them to be good. I want them to be better than they were last year. I think it's just we're going to have to see how it all works out. And Satou's going to have to be the Satou that everyone hopes that she is. Because that's a big pick.
This is a PSA, or public sock announcement. Experts have declared Bombas socks as the best way to warm up chilly feet. These pairs are super cushy, soft, and designed for maximum coziness. Plus, for every pair purchased, another pair will be donated, so someone in need of essential clothing can stay warm this winter. Go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.
If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge. From worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Geico's motorcycle expertise means I'm covered by people who know bikes like I do. I'm happy as a clam.
Disclaimer, no conclusive scientific research has shown clams can experience happiness.
I just meant that I feel really good about my coverage.
I mean, even if you took the clam out for the best day ever, visiting the zoo, taking a scenic ride, knowing you're insured by specialists, and sharing a strawberry ice cream cone together, the clam would not feel happy, and your strawberry cone would taste sort of clammy.
Ew.
Geico's motorcycle specialists who know bikes like you do assume no liability for clammy ice cream cones. Geico. Expertise for your motorcycle.
Indiana. Looking at Indiana, many would say that Indiana won the free agency period. They certainly are a lot better because there are players that seem to want to go there to play with Caitlin and have a shot at getting a ring.
Yeah, they're way better. I would not say that they got much better in this whole big trade. The trade included them getting Jaylen Brown, Sophie Cunningham, and the 19th pick.
It was a weird trade because in the moment they trade NaLyssa Smith and the 8th pick. And they get in return, this is a lot of things happening to facilitate the Satou trade. But in return, they get Sophie and the 19th pick. And we're like, that's just not good. And then we find out that Jaylen Brown's there too. And it's like, okay, that's like a sweetener. But like, yeah, I mean, clearly NaLyssa didn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
But like trading down 11 spots is like kind of significant for Sophie Cunningham, who's like a good shooter, but you already have a player that's exactly like in the mold of her in Lexi Hull.
Right.
Who is like growing into, a Sophie 2.0. Maybe even a better player than Sophie. Who knows?
Yeah, but then they signed DeWanna Bonner and Natasha Howard. Both of them make them much better.
They absolutely do. One of the biggest questions when they were willing to get rid of Temi Fagbenle in the expansion draft, which I still think is a questionable decision, they go and they sign Natasha Howard first to anchor their center position and give them a better defense, older player. But when you add her and DeWanna Bonner, who's also a very good defensive player, who's also gives you extra height, who also gives you extra shooting, and is like a all-around toolsy player, like they must have been over the moon that they were able to convince DeWanna Bonner especially to come there.
Yeah.
Because we all just assumed that it was going to be Phoenix. But obviously after the Satou move, it would have been really tight. She would have had to take a massive pay cut. And DeWanna Bonner got a $200,000 contract. So, like, good money for DB and a good opportunity because, we said in the Bingo podcast that Indy could be a top 4 seed. And I think they are definitely top 4 to me in this moment in time. They are a top tier contender with Vegas and with New York and with Minnesota. I think there's my top tier, but there's only one other team that we haven't talked about besides those other 3. So congratulations, Indy. You got better.
No, they are doing the right thing. I mean, they finally got some rookies that were promising for their team back to back in Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark. And then they got the experienced veterans around them to help them win, which is exactly what they needed to do.
Right. And you want to prioritize winning now because Caitlin Clark, once she can be paid, will be paid the most money that anybody can be paid.
Mm-hmm.
She'll be the highest paid player eventually down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have her on a $70,000 contract, when, Katie Lou is making 2.5 times what she makes, then yeah, you go win now.
Yeah.
And she's equipped to do that. And you got to hand it to them. They went out and they want to win. So congratulations to Indy. We'll see how it goes. Seattle. I have been quoted on the record that, and now it's on the podcast, that I think there are aspects of the Seattle roster that I think are somewhat promising. And the biggest thing, is that they were able to re-sign Nneka Ogwumike. Because we were wondering, does she go to the Valkyries? Does she go somewhere else? Does she go to Indy? To do what DeWanna did? No, she stayed at home in Seattle. And now the core, outside of Jewell Loyd that you had there before, Nneka, Skylar, Ezzy, those three are playing together for another year.
Mm-hmm.
Gabby, who was there at the end of the year, giving you pretty quality minutes. You get to see what a full year of her looks like for your team.
Mm-hmm.
Those four together, pretty good. Plus, you have the second overall pick. We don't know who that's going to be. I would assume that they will take a point guard in that position. Let's say someone like Olivia Miles. But they could take Kiki. And they could say, this is our future, our Nneka insurance.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we want to hitch our future to, this tall player. They have a lot of roster filling to do because they don't have everybody signed.
No, they have 6 players signed right now.
But there are a number of Seattle players that have still not signed contracts yet.
Yeah.
So who did we have leaving from last year? Outside Jewell, Sammy, Vivian's is still unsigned. Mercedes Russell is still unsigned.
Mm-hmm.
And you still have Jordan Horston, who's a good player too.
Yeah.
You could be much worse off with your 6th best player being Jordan Horston. Jordan Horston's a borderline starter. Probably is a starter quality level player. So let's say they have 6 starter level players after they make the second overall pick. They just need to add 2 more playable players, and then just fill out the roster so that people aren't dying from minutes from being overplayed. And they could, I don't know, take on the Sparks. They could be better than the Sparks. They could certainly be better than Dallas.
I would hope they're going to be better than the Sparks.
They could end up right where they were last year and just be the 5th best team.
Yeah, probably.
Uh-huh. And then you go up against whoever the 4 seed is. Call it Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
You get buzzsawed there, probably. But fill out the roster before we make an assumption that you're a bad team.
Mm-hmm. No one's saying they're a bad team. I think we're just being more realistic about there's clearly some sort of tension there.
Correct.
Clearly players have wanted to leave. They are not being quick with signing new people.
I'm just saying there are players left on the table that have to sign with some team. And some teams are up on the cap. Some teams have already signed full squads. They'll fill out a roster. Every one of these teams is going to fill out a roster. And they have a draft pick. So let's see the decisions that they make after the dust settles now with their second overall pick coming in. Vegas. Pretty quiet season for Vegas as well. They do the Jewell Loyd trade. But they had a number of players that were not going to return to their squad. And, we're not under contract to return the following year. Mainly your Alicia Clark's, your Sydney Colson's, your Tip Hayes's. Still, Sydney Colson signed. We didn't even mention that for Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
That is another quality signing for Indiana to give them a solid role player off the bench.
Yeah, really good for them.
But, you know, the situation right now is still Asia, Chelsea, Jackie holding it down. Jewel Lloyd now. Mm-hmm. And then, Kia and Meg in your center rotation. Kirsten Bell is on a guaranteed contract. I don't know if she gets into the rotation this year. She might have to. And they did sign Elizabeth Kitley. So I don't know what that means for them. But I think the Aces need to, like, prioritize making sure Tip signs there again.
Yeah, like, the Aces to me feel like they're just kind of trying to keep everyone that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
after Kelsey wanted to leave, they were like, let's make sure everybody's comfy.
And they're not really trying to me, improve on things that they needed to improve on from last year. Mm-hmm. Namely, like, I think defense for sure, which Jewel helps, but also, like, I think Kia Stokes was a huge room for improvement for them, where she is their center, but, like, wasn't really helping in terms of scoring at all.
Right. I see a lot of people talking about, like, cut Kia.
You could,
they
I
could.
guess.
She's not guaranteed.
Uh-huh. I mean, people are saying that Cheyenne Parker-Tyus is
close
to signing with the Aces.
But has not yet.
In which case, they would probably have to get rid of Kia or Megan Gustafson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think, I mean, that would be pretty good. Parker-Tyus was good when she wasn't hurt in Atlanta last year. Had her on my fantasy team. That's the main reason I know, because I did not watch a lot of her her hoops. But, you know, add Cheyenne Parker-Tyus as your center. Your starting lineup is probably better than it is last year, because she's probably better than Kia Stokes by a considerable margin. Better. And then, you know, even if we say Jewel and Kelsey are, like, parallel, even if we say that, which, you know, a lot of people will say otherwise, that Jewel's a better player than Kelsey Plum, then they got better.
Yeah.
At least in the starting five. Now they got to make sure that they can retain some of those bench people. They need to go get Tip, and they need to get Alicia Clark.
Yeah.
Who, you know, Alicia's busy with Athletes Unlimited, and Tip is busy with Unrivaled. But clearly it doesn't seem to be priority for them to lock down another contract with the Aces.
I think this is something that I'm just not used to. Because I think I'm more used to baseball. Especially what's been happening with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And the Yankees.
Ooh, well.
And, like, who are the top teams right now? The top teams in the W have done basically nothing. The Liberty have done nothing.
Yep.
The Lynx have done basically nothing. The Aces haven't done much.
Right.
That's weird to me.
It is weird.
If you're trying to win, like, get someone to help you win.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they clearly feel like, in the Aces case, they probably say it was injury luck that, like, cost them.
What? Chelsea Gray? No one else was hurt.
Yeah, but if Chelsea Gray was there the whole season, then they probably they're probably not, you know, facing New York in the second round of the playoffs. They probably have a top 3 seed, in which case maybe they get to play Indiana, or maybe they get to play Connecticut instead, and maybe they beat Connecticut and they get to the finals again instead of losing to New York, the eventual champions, in the second round, like, or Minnesota. Who knows what it would have been if Chelsea Gray was there the whole year and not, like, coming back from her injury.
Like, I think especially Minnesota is surprising me that they haven't done anything.
Do you want to just talk about Minnesota?
Sure.
Yeah, because you're right. They didn't do anything. They decided not to bring back Maisha Hines-Allen.
Yeah.
They re-signed Natasha Heidemann. But they were another roster that was like pretty set.
And they lost Zandalicini, who I think was important for them.
I agree.
And they haven't replaced her at all.
I think they're going to do their best to find that player, whoever that is, that bench 3-point shooter. But
there's not a ton of them just laying around.
If you're Minnesota, look, what if Minnesota signed like Tip?
Yeah, I think they should.
Super Zandalicini.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, like, with the way that Nafisa Collier has been playing in Unrivaled,
it's very different.
It is very different, but she is in, like, the best form of her life. Mm-hmm. Clearly, she is as dominant as any player in any league.
There's so many less people guarding you.
2 less people. There's no help. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But, like, she's still going insane.
Yeah, of course.
That bodes very well.
And Stewie and Sabrina aren't.
Right.
But still, like, to me, I think Minnesota should have been on it with some of the first calls, some of the first signings, because you want to do anything you can to win next year.
But to be fair, they only had about $200,000 in cap space.
So
they could have signed one. They could have signed one player.
So you trade somebody.
Who are you trading?
I don't know.
Who are you trading?
I don't know who you're trading.
You're not trading Alana. You're not trading Bridget. You're not trading Courtney Williams.
Trade Natasha then.
They decided to re-sign her.
Trade your rookie Alyssa Peely, who you never played, who someone else might want to play.
But see, they could look at it as, we never played Alyssa Peely next year. Maybe she's developed better playing internationally or playing in Athletes Unlimited, and they say, it's time to give Alyssa Peely a look. Mm-hmm. And maybe Alyssa Peely pops. We know Alyssa Peely can shoot threes.
Yeah.
She could be Zandalicini. I mean, she's very different play style.
Yeah.
Because she likes to bang the post a little bit more. But, like, who's to say?
Yeah.
Who's to say?
So that's just something I have to get used to.
We have 2 more teams to talk about. Connecticut.
No.
And New York.
I don't even want to talk about Connecticut.
Let's just knock out New York because you said
nothing.
New York did nothing.
Great.
Ta-da! They didn't trade for Satou. People thought they were going to trade for Satou. They did not trade for Satou.
Yeah.
Let's close this out by talking about Connecticut Sun.
I mean, we shouldn't say that these teams have done nothing. There's still lots of off season to go.
Well, yeah, they cored Stewie and they made sure Stewie's happy.
But all of this is the end, we think, of the major trades and signings.
Correct. There will be some. There obviously people will fill out rosters, but like there shouldn't be any like wow moves.
Yeah. Okay, the Sun are kind of a disaster. They lost their entire starting 5 in trades, or they were free agents that signed somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So that's obviously bad. But I think, there was definitely room for rebuilding there. So we're starting something new in Connecticut. Tina Charles is back, who was drafted there. Mm-hmm.
That was that was a surprise. I was like, huh?
Yeah, because
he's going there?
Someone said Tina could go to the Lynx, and that was like blowing my mind.
It was me.
I think it was Laura. So that's good for Tina, taking really over Brianna Jones's spot.
Yeah.
And then they also signed Diamond DeShields.
Yes. But, I mean, we should talk about the fact that...
The trade.
In the big trade...
Okay. Just give me a minute. That was who they signed.
Sure.
The trade, they got J.C. Sheldon. Good. Good for them.
Sure.
Rebecca Allen was hurt a lot of last year.
But they don't have Rebecca Allen anymore because they traded her to the Sky for Lindsay Allen.
Okay.
Which I know we didn't mention that. The Sky did trade for Rebecca Allen.
When was that?
That was like a random side trade that happened right at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't have Rebecca Allen.
Okay, fine. They have Lindsay Allen.
Yes. Fine. Different Allen.
Who's also a point guard?
A guard, yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't make sense.
Guard
They
City.
have Natasha Cloud. Great.
Great
Also
player.
a guard.
Also a guard.
And now they have the eighth
overall pick. Yeah.
So they went from like forward city to like guard city.
Kind of.
Great.
Kind of, yeah. Just looking at the mocks, that 8th overall pick, probably going to be pretty valuable. This is a good draft class. There's somebody that you could use as like your new, you could theoretically get like a new building block player. But the Sun are, another team that's signaling rebuild. However, when we talk about like your Minnesotas, or sorry, when we talk about your Washingtons, or your Valkyries, who are, the top end talent here is pretty okay. Like, these are good players. Natasha Cloud is a good player. Marina Mabry is a good player.
Are you
Tina
telling
Charles
me
is a
right
good player.
now that you think the Sun are going to be better than the Mystics?
I think it is a strong possibility that they could accidentally be better than the Mystics.
You're crazy.
They could I'm saying accidentally. I'm saying they shouldn't want to do that. They should do everything in their power to trade Natasha Cloud before they win too many games, because Natasha Cloud is just okay at running an offense.
If they sign some
and Marina
more
could
people,
shoot 7 threes and make 7 threes in a game.
Okay, once a year she does that.
Don't disrespect her.
I'm not.
Let her cook.
I'm not. But
Let her
that's
cook,
just not
literally.
a common thing to have happen. 7 threes in a game.
I know, she did it in a playoff game.
Obviously, there's rumors that the Sun will sign some international pieces.
Yes.
Because their new coach is very international.
Yes.
So that will help for sure if they choose to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So fine. In that case, then yeah, they could be middle of the pack.
Yeah,
As it currently stands, I don't think so.
Sure. No, and I'll be very explicitly clear. I do not want them to be middle of the pack. I think they, after losing, future Hall of Famer Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner, future Hall of Famer, and Bree Jones, very good player, and DiJonai Carrington, most improved player and defensive ace at a position that is very important to be good at defense. They should want to just start over. They should, and they should just be careful that they don't win too many games by accident. I don't know if that's going to be like sneaky Natasha Cloud injury, like mid-season, to like, oh, she misses 10 games because she's like got a hamstring. They do that. They do that in the NBA all the time.
The NBA is ridiculous.
I know they are. I know they're prima donnas, and Tosh likes to play the game.
Yeah.
But like Connecticut, if they make the right trades, could load up on some pretty valuable draft picks for the future.
Yeah, they could.
With some of these players.
But I think the leadership of Connecticut needs to take a hard look at what's going on here.
Move the team.
To lose your entire starting lineup is very bad.
I think it was Across the Timeline posted on Bluesky about how in the history of the WNBA, a team has never once started the next season without at least 2 players that were on the previous roster. Going into this following season, I think it's like, or that have started.
Yeah, Marina wasn't a starter.
She did in the playoffs, though. I think Marina is the one. Because Olivia Nelson-Adota did not start.
No.
DiJonai's gone. Caitlin Bickle did not start.
Yeah.
JC Sheldon wasn't on the team.
Well, Marina didn't. She barely even started.
But she did start.
A couple games, maybe.
Right. They have literally one player that has started a game for them on their current roster.
That's insane.
It's shocking. It's shocking.
Yeah. So I don't know what needs to happen.
They need to lose. They need to start over. And they need to not practice in a gym where half of it is split with a 2-year-old's birthday.
Exactly.
When they're trying to, play in the semifinals.
So I hope that Marina and Tosh Cloud can just have a good old time there.
Just have a good old time.
Together.
They're having fun on the Phantom.
I really hope something happens for Tina. This is not where I want Tina to be.
No. This is kind of a sad way for Tina to go out.
I'm very sad for her.
Is that it? Is that what we're going to end on?
I don't know. It's just crazy. The whole thing with the sun is crazy. And people were saying, like, I was kind of split. Like, yeah, I do think Alyssa Thomas probably wants to leave, but where could Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner both go? And they're going to want to play together. So, maybe they'll just stay and make it work. Mm-hmm. And it just, for them to leave and be on different teams, what does that say about what was going on?
Well, I think it says that Indiana has this new $78 million facility, and Phoenix has had a multi-million-dollar facility that's good for both these women who care about their bodies and want to be better basketball players at the end of their careers. Mm-hmm. And Connecticut didn't have that.
Yeah.
So, Connecticut, sorry,
that's a shame.
Invest in your team or else bring them somewhere where a city will invest in them. Mm-hmm. That's all I have to say about Connecticut.
Okay.
Put a bow on it.
This is a mini meditation guided by Bombas. Repeat after me. I'm comfy. I'm cozy. I have 0 blisters on my toes. And that's because I wear Bombas, the softest socks, underwear, and t-shirts that give back. One purchased equals one donated. Now go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.
If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now that we've talked about all of our free agency takes, we're probably gonna do a power rankings before the season starts once these rosters are really filled out.
Yeah.
And we won't tell each other that. But I just want to go through some of the Unrivaled happenings this past weekend. We did not watch many of the games on Friday and Saturday. I was able to catch the end of Lace's Owls because it meant something to this house. And it was a very good game.
We're not talking about that.
It was a very good game. It was down to the buzzer. Jackie Young is back.
Yeah.
I want to highlight that Jackie Young is back.
It was a very good game, and 2 of my players were hurt, so I will not take that the Owls are better than the Laces.
Well, I'll just say...
Which has been said many a time.
The Owls have only played with 5 players the entire time. All I'm saying.
That's not my fault.
That's the league's fault. I don't know what they're doing. Who do you? Anyway. These past games, I'll just go high level. The Phantom beat the Rose 75-63. The Mist won their first game against the Vinyl 77-67. The Rose won 83-69 over the Laces. That was a game where there was injury issues from what I heard. Hope everything's okay with Tip. Hope AT comes back soon. And then we did watch on Monday. The Mist replayed the Phantom, won 64-61, got their second win. Stewie has said that February is going to be a much better month for the Misties. She said it was a very long January, and she hopes that they can start winning games now. Only scoring 64 points. You got to score a little bit more, but hey, 2 wins in a row, pretty good for the Mist. And then the Owls took care of the Vinyl 85-68. We look forward to this week. Kristen and I have the opportunity to be there. Very excited to be there on Saturday night to see both of our teams play. That'll be so fun. We will report back. Follow us on all of our platforms to check out what is going on in Miami. So let's start on Friday. We have the Owls versus the Phantom. Owls are the Owls. Phantom. Sabrina's been back. Sabrina's been playing. Sabrina helped them win a game. BG, still playing BG. I found this interesting in last night's broadcast that BG has started off coming off the bench 5 of the last 6 games all the 6 games that they played, and BG has never come off the bench in a W game ever. She's only ever started. So she is sacrificing from like a personality standpoint, I would imagine, to be like willing to come off the bench and not be like the starter on the team.
Well, there's only 3.
Right. But like there's only 6 players total. And you know, the Phantom have had injuries in the past, but she just only started 1 game all season. I just think that was interesting.
Yeah, it is.
I hope that we finally get Marina. She's there on the bench. She's working out. We see all the workout videos. We see all the dancing videos and the cooking videos.
Yeah.
Come on, Marina. Because who knows? They need a shooter.
Are they playing on Saturday, the Phantom?
The Phantom, we do not get to see the Phantom on Saturday. So, unfortunately, if she is back on Friday, we won't see that. And then the second game of Friday night is the Mist, looking to win 3 in a row against the Rose, who recently won against the Laces. The Rose remain healthy. Do you want to talk about the crazy Angel toss, the Angel ejection?
I mean, I didn't see it. We didn't watch it.
You watched the clip, though. Pretty wild situation. There were a lot of technicals this past week.
Like, we can't be doing this. I'm annoyed with the refs. Yeah. Angel, like, in my opinion, tripped Tiffany Hayes. And
it was a light trip.
Said something, made gestures, was making gestures to Tiffany Hayes, but I think the refs thought it was about them. And then she said something, and then she got ejected.
It was a pretty classic referee power trip.
You
do not want to see that.
But, like, there's 5 players on this team. You cannot just be ejecting players like this.
It was the end of the game, too. But, like, or no, actually, it was the middle of the game.
And, like, so much stuff that I've seen is people saying, like, oh, Tiffany Hayes is just a big flopper.
Nah.
Do not say that about her.
She's playing so hard. She's playing way hard.
Yes. Yeah, she falls down.
Yeah.
But she was tripped.
Yeah, I think it was a tripping. I think it was taken way over, out of proportion. I mean, I didn't mention this, but in the game that we watched yesterday between the Mist and the Phantom, the game was won on a technical free throw because they tossed Adam Harrington out of the game literally at the end. Like a very other wild trip. Even Stewie herself said, I do not want to be winning on a technical free throw, so we need to fix that. And when the founder of the league is saying that, like, you have a problem with the referees.
Yeah.
Period. Looking at Saturday, your Laces get to play Vinyl. That should be a fun one. The Vinyl, looking to get right. They've lost 4 in a row. Not a very good look for a team that seemed to be off to a good start. But, can Teaspoon turn around? We'll see. But I trust your Laces to get it done. Jackie I'm so glad that we get to see Jackie. I'm very glad that
she's hurt again, no?
She didn't play in the back-to-back.
No.
But I didn't know if that was an injury or if that was just because they were just like, she just came back from injury. We don't want to play her 2 days in a row because we don't want her to re-aggravate. So let's give her a week and she'll be ready to go on Saturday. I'm hoping that's the case from that perspective. And then Owls Mist also playing Stewie versus Fee.
Yeah, that's a good game.
Cool. Should be a good game. Mist are playing better. Owls are the Owls. Who do you? And then on Monday, it's the start of the one-on-one tournament. So especially if you're still listening to the pod at this point, if you haven't had a chance to go vote in the 1v1 pods, I encourage you to go check out the Unrivaled website where you can vote. That's going to start at 2 p.m., it says.
2 p.m.?
I hope that's not true. I hope that's like a false time stamp because it's on Monday at 2 p.m. Like, I don't want to miss it in the middle of the day because I'm at work.
Yeah, you have to work.
It's Super Bowl Monday.
Just kidding, I'm not working.
Kristen's not working.
I already have the day off, so we better win.
Yeah, well, yes. Go Birds. Anyway, 1v1 tournament should be a lot of fun. I don't really have an expectation about what it's going to be like, but we're going to see. Your voting will influence the bracket, so that'll be pretty cool. I think
the voting was kind of cool how they did it.
it wasn't just pick a player who you think's going to win.
No, you like ranked. I think they randomly put people into pods, and then you ranked all the players in each pod. That was fun. That was fun to do.
It was fun. It was fun. It was a good exercise. When you get like past the top 2, then you're like, ooh, who do I feel like is number 3 here?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah. So that was cool. I'm excited. Very excited to be in Miami. Again, we're going to try our best to bring you everything that we can from down there. Hopefully some videos, some cool stuff. Hopefully get to talk to some players, maybe get an autograph or 2. Who knows? But that's all I have. Exciting that we have teams now, that players are signed, that we have a new landscape to look at. That's going to make our 2025 WNBA season. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Again, if you'd like to send us an email, you can do so. attackthebaseline@gmail.com or connect with us on Bluesky and Instagram at ATBPod. We're there doing great stuff, having fun. WNBA. Kristen, any last things for our listeners? Shaking her head. I'm looking at the baseline. What are we going to do?
Attack it.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week with more WNBA information. But until then, ta-ta for now.
This is a PSA, or public sock announcement. Experts have declared Bombas socks as the best way to warm up chilly feet. These pairs are super cushy, soft, and designed for maximum coziness. Plus, for every pair purchased, another pair will be donated, so someone in need of essential clothing can stay warm this winter. Go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.